Good evening. Good evening, all, and welcome to the Power Pause, Mental, Financial, and Physical Wellbeing. The Power Pause is the second featured event in RAPTT's Women's History Month celebration series. The interactive Zoom webinar brings together three dynamic female professionals to guide us, women, through a purposeful reset in three essential areas of life: mental health, financial health, and physical well-being. Moderating our event this evening would be Miss Arlene Hamlin-Paul. Miss Arlene Hamlin-Paul is a wife, mother, and grandmother who has served in various professional vocations in Trinidad and Tobago. She's an award-winning author and speaker who has served both locally and internationally. Her passion for education and empowerment has led to the establishment of the Fearless Forum, a forum designed to serve female entrepreneurs and leaders. She is the CEO of Edcom Educators, an education consultancy and training company. As the first female paramedic in Trinidad and Tobago, Arlene has received recognition from the U.S. National Registry of Emergency Medical Technicians for her 20 years of continued service. Arlene believes that education is not only important, but integral to the survival of our society. In fulfilling her purpose as an educator, she's currently pursuing her doctorate of education. It is her desire to use this platform to improve the quality of life and innovation in education. So handing over to you, Ms. Arlene Hamlin-Paul, as you take us through today's event.
Good evening, and welcome to the Power Pause. The Power Pause is designed to help us as women mentally, financially, and of course, we're talking about physical well-being. And just some housekeeping rules before we get into it. Please, for persons that are not on at the time, keep your mics muted. We're getting in. The first topic we're going to speak about is mental health. I know as women, that's kind of like the buzz thing we hear, mental health, mental well-being. So today we have a professional who has been in the field a while, and she is going to speak to us about mental health. Ms. Samantha Griffith is a qualified social worker and business administration professional with over 10 years of experience working with the criminal justice system. She previously served with the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service as a victim and witness support officer, and later as a project coordinator in the Gender-Based Violence Unit, where she led policy, training, and community initiatives. Ms. Griffith currently serves as a Divisional Assistant Court Manager with the Judiciary of Trinidad and Tobago. She is also the president of the Trinidad and Tobago Association of Social Workers and Volunteers. As project manager for a youth mentorship program, she remains committed to justice, empowerment, and community development. Today, Ms. Griffith is going to cover a few things for us in her chat: emotional burnout in women, boundaries without guilt, mental resilience strategies, and managing overwhelm while leading and giving. And those points are for our note takers. You know, some of us on this evening may be taking notes, so these are the areas to be covered. Without any further ado, I would like to introduce Ms. Samantha Griffith. Over to you, Ms. Griffith.
Good afternoon. Well, good evening, everyone. Are you all hearing me clearly?
Yes, we are hearing you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Mrs. Paul, for that great introduction. I have a PowerPoint, right? It's coming up. Thank you so much for having me. I mean, this is such a, as you said, a deep topic that is not just a buzzword, but it is important in our everyday life because it can make us or break us. I know that we can't. I thought we could have shared emojis because my first exercise in today's presentation was for us to all reflect on how are we really feeling today through emojis. But we can't do the emojis, we can't do the hands up. But I just want us to take a minute to reflect, sit, as to how our day was. Very short. I mean, even in it today, my day was pretty hectic. I had a number of things going on. It's still in transit, as you all know. And, sometimes those feelings, you could either feel overwhelmed, you could feel, as though you're not doing your best. You could feel defeatist because of that. Or you could say, you know what? Life, this is what happens. Life happens. Murphy's Law, let's roll with the punches. It's all about in terms of perspective, how we're feeling at the time, and a range of different things. You could go to the next. I don't know if you're changing slides, Miss Howard. Right. And when we think in terms of mental health and women especially, we're looking at in terms of, and I like this in terms of asking ourselves, because we are oftentimes praised for multitasking. We're oftentimes praised for the number of roles and hats that we have, but is it a strength? Is it an asset? Or is it an enemy? Meaning all the things that we're doing, all the things that we're doing, is it helping or is it in terms of hindering us on our mental health eventually? So I wanted to bring some research into this discussion. So research in terms of a Harvard study showed that women are often praised or are better at multitasking than men, and we know this. We know in terms of give a woman, they're like the project manager in a home. You give a woman in terms of a particular task or ask them about in terms of a particular point on something that you want to do, they could run with it and build out something for you. But is it in terms of, again, ask ourselves, is it an asset or is it in terms of our enemy as we move forward in life? Sometimes too, in terms of with women, this multitasking can often lead us feeling scattered, mentally overloaded, burnout from too many roles. And there's a balance in terms of in multitasking. And it's important that we prioritize, we delegate, and in terms of pausing, just as today's session is, for essential in terms of well-being. And the reflection question I have here is, are we truly managing our many roles or are we constantly juggling between the roles? Do we feel as though we are successfully managing and navigating this life in terms of hat of mother, daughter, wife, business owner, manager, etc.? Or are we juggling and feeling as though we're burning the midnight oil from one end to the next? Next slide. And to frame in terms of today's discussion, again, I wanted to look at what is burnout and what is burnout versus stress, because there's a clear or a distinct difference. Again, bringing in terms of research from World Health Organization to look at what burnout is. So burnout in terms of looks at a psychological syndrome that results from chronic workplace or life stress that has not been successfully managed. And recently, the Families in Action ran a series in terms of burnout, and burnout not just being a feeling, meaning I feel burnt out, but a very deep psychological, ongoing issue that is not just, it's not just, okay, today I'm feeling, I'm feeling overwhelmed, but tomorrow, like, you take a nap or you take the weekend and then you're back to yourself, for want of a better word. No, burnout is a constant feeling. It's persistent, and it's characterized by three key dimensions. And I think this is important to note because sometimes, as I said, we may classify burnout as just stress, but there's distinct differences. And some of the what World Health Organization said that burnout and the key dimensions was emotional exhaustion, depersonalized or detachment, and reduced sense of accomplishment. Do we sometimes feel this way? Um, and what is the key differences between burnout and stress? So stress looks at you have too many demands. Stress looks at, you have that, as I say, short-term feelings of feeling overwhelmed, yeah, high pressured, but you're still engaged. So you're not looking at in terms of that emotional exhaustion, you're not looking at that chronic in terms of stress or that loss of identity and that depersonalization. But burnout, as I said, looks at that loss of motivation, feeling ineffective, you're not good enough, starting to question yourself, maybe I'm not doing enough, things like that. So that is the key in terms of some of the key differences between burnout and stress, because sometimes we might just label it as, oh, I'm just stressed. And some of the hidden signs of burnout in women, I'm sorry, this picture was a bit small, but I liked it. And it was also based off of research where they saw that in 2025, 3 out of 4 female executives hit a wall or feelings or have burnout. And burnout in terms of feeling as though you're always on, micro guilt, emotional, being emotionally overwhelmed, perfectionism, pressure, frequent body aches, late night overthinking, irritability with loved ones, feeling distant from goals, skipping meals. So some of these are some key or 9 hidden signs of burnout. Do you, and next slide. The question is, have we ever felt pressured to be superwoman in our everyday life? And what in terms of that superwoman feeling, are we in terms of motivated by it, or do we think we carry it because what society tells us, because we want to of course, put our place in a patriarchal society, that we have to do better than our male counterparts. So things like that we have to start to think about. And I just wanted to frame the discussion in terms of mental health and give that in terms of burnout, because that frames or influences our mental health. I want to move on. So this is a very, in terms of boundaries. Boundaries, and I like this term. What is a boundary? Be aware of what is acceptable and normalize saying no. Do what is best for you and know that it's not your responsibility to sacrifice yourself for others. So that is what a boundary is. Next slide. And how do we set boundaries? Because it's good to say, it's good to that word boundaries, but sometimes it's very hard to set a boundary, especially as women. And some key steps in setting boundaries looks at reflection. Reflect on what do you accept and what you don't accept, and then you can define what after that what you accept, because different people accept different things based on in terms of their upbringing, based on in terms of where they're at in terms of their life, in terms of, if you look at Eric Erickson's stages of development, so different levels or different in terms of stages you're at, and different influences or experiences that you have will dictate what boundary, because person's boundaries can change. So reflecting on where you're at, defining what are your boundaries, communicating clearly to persons when they may make a misstep or don't know what is your boundary, and start small. You don't wake up one day, somebody knows you maybe for years, and then say, this is a boundary. We need to start small as well, because we are unsure in terms of, and when we have to navigate in terms of our friendships, relationships, how we put forward those things as well. Be consistent, so that when you start, or when you start to define, because remember, people may not know, or you would have developed this particular boundary in this particular space of time, and then be consistent in communicating that. Prepare for pushback. As you know, we sometimes or oftentimes hear, but I didn't know that, and well, now that you know, but you keep crossing the boundary. So prepare for pushback. Oh, that's not how you were before, especially when you develop maybe a new boundary based on a life experience. That's not how you were before. That's not what was going on before. And seek support. That could be in counseling, because you may lose friends, family members, as we oftentimes hear, or you may even leave a work, or want to leave a particular work and start over because of particular boundaries that you have set in your life. And those things are very hard and difficult. Next slide. And how do we manage as women and women leaders, and women in homes, when we lead homes, etc., and manage leading and giving our time, self, and also juggling in terms of putting up those boundaries, asserting yourselves, etc. You've prioritized what truly matters. Set boundaries without guilt. Protect your time and energy. Learn to say no when your capacity is full. Schedule time for rest and recovery. Delegate and ask for support. That might be a hard one, even at home. Sometimes, there's a meme, you as a mother ask your children to do something, so you're delegating chores, and if they didn't do it in 5 minutes, you get up and you do it. No, we have to learn to delegate and let go. Share responsibilities where possible, because sometimes we may not have, in terms of at home or even at work, the support that we require. Build intentional pauses into your day and take small moments to step back. And what that could look like is 5 minutes walking outside or even sitting in your car before you go inside and just reflecting on the day, decompressing, and some ways to boost your resilience. And if you realize there's a clear theme in all of that in terms of boundary settings, managing and leading and giving, and building in terms of these types of strategies within your day. Things like pausing, celebrating small wins, setting boundaries, getting in terms of support, realistic in terms of goals, accepting change, all of those things in terms of when you look at reflection, being consistent, seeking support, all of those things are interconnected in terms of boundary settings. And as I said, going back to knowing where it comes from. Sorry, next slide. And some key takeaways. And these key takeaways may look very simple, or it may just look like, but these are simple things to implement in your everyday life. Pause is power. And I love it in terms of the name of today's seminar, in terms of pausing and that power pause. Because pausing or taking a moment, even if, as I said, it's for 5 minutes, it's important. That could change your whole day. If somebody hugs you for 30 seconds, they say in terms of your dopamines and different things that you release just for 30 seconds, when you pause and hug someone, how transformational that could be for you. Burnout is not a weakness. Sometimes we look at, oh, we're stressed, we burnt out, we overwhelmed, we can't do this, we can't do that, and we look at it as a weakness. Oh, she can't manage that. Um, but at that age, I was doing X, Y, and Z, or we put ourselves or put those notions onto someone else and not realizing that the burdens that maybe or things that you may be able to carry, another person, based on their life experiences, based on biology, based on many different things, the environment, they are not able to carry that. So burnout and looking at it as weakness, we shouldn't. Boundaries protect well-being, and as I say, we may say that's not a simple thing to set up. The word is nice to hear, boundaries and putting in place boundaries, but as I said, you could lose in terms of some of your closest friends or even family members when you set boundaries to protect your own well-being. Next slide. Oh, and small pauses build resilience, yes. And I wanted to reframe in terms of what we look at in terms of strength. Strength is not doing everything alone or going at it alone. Strength is setting boundaries, asking for support, protecting your well-being, and giving yourself permission to pause. Sometimes, as I said, we look at burnout as a weakness. We look at when persons ask us for assistance as weakness, um, reaching out for support as weakness. But those things show that we need each other. We are a village. We need each other. We are not in terms of a person who can, as persons, be alone. We are interconnected or connected in various ways. And pausing, setting those boundaries is not in terms of weakness, it is actually strength. And as I close, I want to say women are often celebrated for doing it all. But today I want to leave with a different message. You do not have to do everything to be enough. Your worth is not measured by how exhausted you are. And you should give yourself permission again to pause, set boundaries, ask for support, and prioritize your well being. Because when we as women thrive, families, workplaces, and communities, of course, thrive too. Because when we reflect on the first question, if um multitasking is a asset or enemy, it could be an asset. And we as women push in terms of that, meaning, build cities, build person, support, have that role, put on that hat of protector, supporter, etc. And places, as I said, thrive when we are better or when we seek support, when we pause. So thank you so much for allowing me to share on that, just that snippet of mental health and looking at in terms of giving, setting boundaries, etc., and pausing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Griffith, for that. And I love the end. Your worth is not measured by how exhausted you are. And I'm sure a lot of us on this evening can identify with many of the areas she spoke about this evening. Multitasking versus burnout. I I I really embrace that definition. Sometimes, people kind of link the two together, but they were definitions to clarify the multitasking and the burnout. Strength, asset, or enemy. Wow. Often people think that it's an asset to be able to multitask. But today we take a pause to ask ourselves, is it a strength, asset, or an enemy? Another thing that stood out to me was micro guilt. Micro guilt. This is the first time I heard that term, but I immediately could identify what micro guilt was. Late night overthinking and the signs and symptoms. And as we take the opportunity to pause this evening, I want to just start the questions going by asking Ms. Griffith, what does a mental pause look like in real life? We know, it's good to say take a little time out, but tell us some micro pauses, to use that term, that we can have, because sometimes the day does not allow and we can't seem to find the time. So can you share with us, your concept or some recommendations for us in terms of taking that pause?
Hi, Mrs. Paul. Yes, of course. I think some of the small ways, and this could be within 5 minutes at work or even at home. I brought up in terms of when we come home, if it's just taking 5 minutes in the car to decompress, that's one way. At work, if it's taking 5 minutes to do some deep breathing exercises, you have the meditation app on your phone and you do those deep breathing exercises, or just walk out of the office, take a walk. Sometimes I do that. I just take a walk, go outside, take some fresh air, go back in. It could be meditating if you have much more time, if it's on a weekend, doing yoga, exercising. Those are some small ways that we could do in terms of those small pauses throughout the day.
Yes. And I want to add one. Some of us may not be able to do this, but you can also switch your phone off for 5 minutes. You could start with
That's a
that.
big one. That's
That's
a
a
big
good
one.
one. Yeah. Because some of us, depending on the positions that we hold, we are accessible by WhatsApp, we're accessible by phone call. And sometimes you want to be guilt-free. And if you switch it off, it gives you that guilt-free moment where you can actually take a pause, as we say. And in terms of high capacity women, how do we, I mean, you listed some signs of burnout, but women who are high functioning may not recognize the signs, the micro guilt, or even the late night overthinking. They may just think they're planning for the next day. What are some of the signs that high capacity or high functioning women can look at in terms of burnout?
That is such a good question because even me myself, I found myself having to in the night, just as you said, thinking, going over tomorrow's meeting, what I
Yes.
want to do, project deadlines, and I had to literally in my personal life say, you know what, at a certain time I have to cut off. And literally in terms of in my mind, or talk to myself and talk myself until I got into a routine to cut off once I can, right? And some of the signs, I mean, when you look at burnout, especially in high functioning women who may not even recognize the signs until it's maybe too late, constant fatigue, emotional exhaustion, looking at reduced performance or even increased performance, meaning hypervigilance, um, those physical symptoms of pain in your neck, saying yes to everything, withdrawal or isolation because you're doing everything else but spending time with your friends or your family, looking at in terms of even feeling, when snappy with persons or even your health. When you look at you're not eating on time, so acid reflux. When you look at you're suffering in terms of with those non-communicable diseases because you're eating on the go, and you feel in terms of switching from one meeting to the next, that's you're functioning, you're enjoying it, or you're busy and you're feeling, hey, I'm getting things done, but you're missing eating. You're not in terms of checking in. You're not drinking enough water, things like that, because you're running from meeting to meeting, especially at that executive level. You're going from here to there, and you're smiling like that's what you used to do. And I myself, Ali, I have
I like the
suffered from
term
acid reflux.
eating to meeting. I like
Yeah,
that. You're not eating, but you're getting to the meeting. Yes, I
yeah.
love it. I love it. I love it.
I
Yeah.
myself suffered from acid reflux for a time, really bad
Mhm.
acid reflux. And anybody who got acid reflux knows, especially if you suffered really, really badly, you don't want to experience that kind of pain because you're
Yes.
not eating on time, you're not exercising, you're not taking care of your health. So it's either fast food, or if it's or you're spending a lot of money on food and things like that because you're not in terms of enjoying a proper meal. So it's all of these things that we have to look at. And are we in terms of, so even at my workplace, sometimes we don't schedule meetings 12 to 1, or we have a cutoff time. And I'm happy, with my in terms of management, they've started to implement that, because especially during COVID as well, your personal time was not yours, and how you work and in front of a computer and you sit down. So those are some of the signs in terms of your mental health, your physical health, and then in terms of your emotional connections with others, that you have to, sit and ask yourself, am I, a high functioning burnout or
Yeah.
and how do I really try to curb or implement particular healthy habits back into my lifestyle?
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Eating to meeting, I will, and I must admit, I myself am guilty of that. But recently I decided that there's a day in the week that I'll take a pause. And so when persons want to schedule meetings on those days, whatever day I choose, I say I'm not available, and I don't feel guilty anymore. It's okay. And I had a really restful time and rejuvenated myself to face. So the day after that, I function at maximum because I took that opportunity to pause. So thank you for that, Miss Griffith. And the last question, I don't know if there are any questions from the audience at this time, but I have one more question for you. What is one daily practice every woman should implement? Something that we should do on a daily basis to keep us on track with that well-being?
I would say ground ourselves. I want to say two things: ground ourselves in the morning and ground ourselves in the afternoon, in the evening before we sleep. That could look like praying, reading the Bible, journaling. So what I do, on a morning I would pray, and in the evening I went on the Logos and got, I saw this devotional book where write in terms of, and I recently started that journaling, because before I used to look at journaling like, oh, why am I 12 years old journaling, and then realize journaling is so, I feel so light.
Yes,
I
it
did it
does.
and I felt alive, because I used to think, am I a teenager? Am I journaling these feelings? And I mean, I'm a social worker, and those are some of the tools we also ask clients to do. And I started to say, but this is really helpful to me.
Yeah.
So grounding ourselves in the morning. And as I said, that could look like, if it's journaling, taking 10 minutes before you go on your phone. For me, that practice, grounding in the morning and in the evening before bed, is helpful for me to bracket my day. in terms of with positivity. So I bracket my day in the morning, giving thanks, and bracket my day in the evening by saying, what went well, what went wrong, but at the end of the day, giving thanks again. So that's for me. Different persons may have different things. If it's exercise on a morning, if it's yoga, Pilates, or if it's just, spending time with the family, cooking. Some persons enjoy those things, but for me, that is one thing I think is very helpful, grounding ourselves with positivity in the morning and at the night, in the night to bracket our day.
Excellent. And that's a great way to end this segment. Grounding yourselves in the morning and in the evening. And I like how you mentioned it may look like reading your Bible, getting a devotional, but giving thanks, and in that area of celebrating yourself too, because in giving thanks, you celebrate yourself and the ability to be in the space that you're in. So I want to say at this time, thank you so very much, Ms. Griffith, for your time. I am sure our participants have enjoyed your lecture, your session, and we want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. So at this time, we want to move right along to our second presenter, and she's going to speak on financial health. Ms. Lizelle Cummings-Caesar. Ms. Lizelle Cummings-Caesar is a dedicated professional with 37 years of distinguished service at the Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago. She has contributed across key areas, including exchange control, investment banking, bank examination, and now the facilities department, consistently demonstrating excellence, integrity, and commitment. Lizelle served for over a decade on the credit and supervisory committees for Central Bank Employees Cooperative, and more than 20 years as a branch union president for the Banking and General Workers Union, advocating for fairness, empowerment, and staff well-being. With a bachelor's degree in economics and an MBA, Lizelle's academic background strengthened her path, but her greatest lessons came from her humble beginnings as a young clerk. There, she learned some of the most powerful truths of her life. Small beginnings hold tremendous potential. Every dollar saved matters, and every seed of discipline eventually grows into opportunity. Today, Lizelle reminds us no dream is too big, invest in your growth, refuse to let your beginnings define your limits, believe in your worth, and pursue your aspirations with boldness and intention. Because success is not accidental, it is earned, it is built. Save small, but dream big. This evening, Mrs. Cummings-Caesar is going to cover the areas of financial confidence versus financial fear, budgeting for purpose, not just survival, investing in oneself without guilt, and building emergency and legacy funds. And I love that last one, building emergency and legacy funds. So without any further delay, I introduce to you Ms. Lizelle Cummings-Caesar. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Miss Havlin Paul. And it is really a great honor just to be invited to have a discussion and a talk. My first statement, I would like to say I do not represent the central bank view or opinion. These that I'm going to give is my personal. I worked there. I've had a lovely time working at the organization. It has helped shape and has channeled me into who I am. But I am not the voice I'm speaking here is that of me, Lizelle Cummings-Caesar. Right, so when I was asked to do this, I thought, hey, very nice. Let me start my timer. I put a 50 minutes timer. I think it was a very nice idea. And I've always liked the idea of savings. And when I hear financial health, just like we have physical health, we have mental health, we have financial health. And financial is not just about money. Because when we think of finance, we only think about money. Money is the end goal that we're going to get there, but it is really how we're going to go about it. If you don't have the mindset and the mental well-being, as was said in the earlier speaker, and if you don't have what we call confidence, that is what financial health, or good financial health, it starts with, is confidence, getting that confidence, having choices, and the freedom to make, the freedom to get where you want to path, to channel that path to which you will be able to start. Now, as the host says, we are doing 4 pillars. First, we're going to talk about financial fear. All of us have financial fears. Now, if you started off, and as I said, a humble beginning, if no one in your family speaks about finance, if no one speaks about money positively, and all you associate money with is scrambling, it is to get to budget, it's to get to eating, put the children in the school, have money for transport, have money for the lessons. Yeah, you associate finance with that negative feeling. And if that negative feeling becomes your environment, then that becomes on your subconsciousness. Now, subconsciousness is what really governs you over your consciousness. So it becomes your path. So you assume and you associate money negatively. So because of that, a lot of us lack one, financial advice, financial exposure. Yeah, we have money, we have paycheck, but when you look at your family, your mother, your father, those who had working parents, those who had small enterprising parents, you never saw them talking about, let us say for the rainy days, it was always about meeting, and especially if your number of children were larger than one. Right? So one is fear, making the wrong choice. Sometimes we are hung over by choice, and sometimes the choice itself is no different. And what I tell my friends and I tell people, we are adults now, but even though you made a difference, you have the experience that you could overcome it because you've dealt with all kind of different experiences. Then we have generational belief that money is not ours. We are only consumers. We could only spend. We could never save, or especially our ethnic groups. Some have more than the others, but we don't understand what it takes for them to have, or what their sacrifices may be. Another one we have around financial fear is anxiety about debt, income stability. We all assume debt is bad. Debt is good, is how you manage it. Nothing is wrong with debt. If you don't have a hands up, if you don't have inheritance, if you don't have somebody to invest in you, if you don't have a starting block of funds, you will have to start small. A mortgage is a debt. Taking a loan to get a car is a debt. Going for a vacation, somewhere these are payments have to come about. So what I will say is that if we don't have that background, you become paralyzed. No matter how you start, it never seems to end well. We have to get over that mindset. So fear often leads to, and it leads to making bad financial decisions. You're either over-saving or under-saving. Over-saving means you're either saving too much and you're leaving it in one instrument. Meaning all we know is to save it in the bank. We also now have gotten a little broader. We say, oh, unit trust. Now and I wanted to say something too. When we talk about the mindset, if you start and you grow with that poor, even that poor side finance, saving mindset, when you get older, you grow, even as an executive with more money, if you don't change that mindset, you will continue being poor decision making with your money. You invest, you spend, you overspend, you become someone else in another stature, with another level, or you want to be like them, the Joneses. I want to achieve like them. I want a new car. The car I'm having is not good enough. I want a BMW. I want a Benz. I want one of those fancy ones. I want to be associated. And these are where we make some of the wrong decisions in terms of. And then some of us have very right shame about spending, or shame that we don't have, or peer group pressure. Some of these things were financial fear. What does financial confidence look like? I always share this. You remember this Geico ad? The Geico ad had whereby this lady was in this museum and the Fabergé egg, and she asks, and security guard says, "Ma'am, this is not for sale. How much is for this? How much for that?" Stephen and Guy could give her the confidence that she could buy the Fabergé egg. That is what confidence is. And it starts small. It's building, and overcoming the fear that I don't have. It is small amount. It does not mean we have to start when I get that promotion, when I get that 10, that lump sum, or when it starts small. It starts with every dollar you have in your pocket. But it's something that you have to make your mind about. Confidence is understanding what your picture, what am I seeing? How do I look? I'm not going to be a millionaire overnight. I'm not going to earn a tremendous amount that I will be comfortable. Because here what, as we all know, as you earn more, you spend more. As you earn more, you no longer have 2 pairs of shoes. You have 5, you have 15. You're no longer eating just chicken alone. You're having beef. You're going to have veal. You're going to experience. Those are costs. But if we don't take a check of ourselves, it does not say that we can't have quality life. Don't get me wrong, quality life, but you could now start separating one from the other. And that is where confidence comes from. Setting goals, being smart. Smart, let your goals always be smart. It must be specific. It must be measurable. It must be attainable. It must be realistic. And one that I always like, timeline, 10 months. 1 year, 6 months, a week, 2 weeks. It doesn't have to be in 10 years. Because when you have too far fetch boundaries or timeline, you're never going to start. You always say, I will. And then the money, you start to see it disappears. Budgeting. So the key takeaway we get is that confidence comes from having a direction, come from clarity, come from action. It's not perfect. We will stumble, expect to get your knees bruised, expect to get up, expect to feel like a failure. But know that your direction and your target is there. And once you know you can get there, small steps, crawl, creep, you will get there. And that's the important part about getting with confidence. Budget. We all associate budget traditionally with a fear. Oh my God, I only have $100 and I had to spend this in splits in 5 ways. Oh my God, the pay come, the budget, the mortgage don't take half, the children don't take half, the car, what I remain with. Smart choices. We have to associate budget with something willing to build. And in your budget, you're going to eke out a small piece, the pocket change, the money I want to spend on the KFC, the money I want to spend to go Pennywise and spend $100 more or $200 more, or the money I passing in the grocery and I didn't work with the list and I buy because you know what? I need to eat ice cream today. No, you may not eat it today. You may eat it at the end of the month. You may eat it next 3 weeks. There are sacrifices to which a budget requires. So what you need to do is always, these like things, align your values, align them with your personal goals. Investing in yourself, as the speaker said before. How do we go about investing in ourselves? Do some kind of health wellness. They have a lot of seminars out there. There are tools for productivity. Join a community. Check your church. Community living is what's important because sometimes you can't get to your goal by yourself. And one of the things that I have found.
Mrs. Caesar?
You're muted. You're muted. Yes.
How did that happen? Was I muted all this time?
No,
No, the
no.
last thing you said was one of the things that I have found, and then you went mute.
That had to be my finger touching something. I apologize. Let me move the finger from that. And my time is counting down, right? One of the things that I like about building and trust and having confidence in community. When I first started, I started doing side jobs, little side jobs. I had a little catering that I do. It was like baking. And I would get extra money, but that money would disappear because anywhere to go in the house. And what I started doing is I need to put this money elsewhere. So I started saving in a little group and a little by myself. It didn't work. So I created different saving methods with my team, with my colleagues, with my friends. And with that, that is how we started having your own emergency fund, your own fund for vacation, your own fund. We do what we call the envelope challenge. And that's just one of the areas. And in this envelope, everyone takes the money that they will spend out of their pockets, their casual pocket. And every day we will draw a number. And of course, we will joke around and we'll put that number, that amount of money, $40 today, $20 tomorrow. And we'll go for 100 working days. Someone will keep it. Normally, I'm the keeper. But we build such community and rapport. The first time we had that first $5,000 in 100 days, it was blown over. They were floored. They were floored by that. I really had this money. And people put it in savings. Some people open a little business. But the thing about it, without community, you could not get it. And one of the things too, and I did at home, is that you could have your emergency fund. You and your husband is working. You all have fixed incomes. What you can do is that I take $500 every month, but it has plenty, $100 a month, $50 a month, and your husband or your spouse match the $100. That is $200 for the month, and we go for 10 months. 200 by 10 months, that is $2,000. You bank that. So the goal is specific. We want to have a savings. So what we did was 500. He put 500, I put 500. So that's 1,000. We want to save that. So in case we have to do repairs on the house, it then come out of somebody's pocket. And so we start in January. We go January too hard. Okay, let's start February. We went to February and then we reached to November. That's 10 months. And at the end of 10 months, we had $10,000. If we didn't use the $10,000 to do repair on the busted main, we then go back again. So it was smart. It was realistic, meaning that we had a fund, the name of the fund. It was time bound. So we're not saying, oh my God, when will this end? Susu. Susu is not just for, I had to buy a fridge, I had to buy a stove. No, Susu is a savings. Do two. One for the expense and the other one is for savings. I have all kind of Susu. I have all kind of people walks of life. Two, Airbnb. I have created an Airbnb. I've just had my first guest for the carnival. I have a property that's my sister's property. And she's not here. So you make use of it. So one, you pay the mortgage. Two, you have additional funds to repair. And three, you have a savings. That savings are taking me this tomorrow to DC for a wedding. Four, find other little things that you can do. It starts small. It does not start, I will create. The author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad says, it is small amounts. The money trickles in. It adds up and it accumulates. So one, I have my salary. Two, I have a minute, 2 minutes. I have my salary. I have my catering job at the side. I have my savings and I have my Airbnb. And any little thing else that I do, then I do wholesale. Somebody want fans, I buy fans, we sell it to that. But the thing is that regardless what station you are in life, regardless of where you are, you could do for retirements, regardless where you stand, you can go forward. I looked at my retirement fund and I said, that is not working. When I looked at what they're giving, that will not save. So you know what I did? I went to the little credit union and I bought and invested with a friend into mini taxis. That brings in a lovely income. So my intention was, the purpose was here. I need to find a goal, as small as it is, so that my wealth building will continue. And that is my legacy, to which I will say, financial health. You continue going, you will fail, you will get up, but that's part of living. And we as experienced persons know how to handle any pressures that come our way. But we have to get the confidence in our mind. Do like that Geico. When I first got that first little money in my hand, I felt I could walk tall. I felt this is what they say. Find your need, find your niche, and you will get there. Thank you, everyone. I hope my sharing in my 15 minutes, you're able to glean something out of it.
Thank
Two,
you.
one.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so very much, Mrs. Cummings Caesar. You hit the nail on the head, so to speak. You did hit the nail on the head. And something you said there that resonated with me is the confidence. We've been taught that money is such a a grandiose thing that we sometimes fear, the money itself or even handling it. Talking about SMART goals, well, that is my field. Yes, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. It must be budgeting. The thing that I'm going to take away from you here today, ma'am, is the envelope challenge. The envelope challenge. I'm going to
Oh,
start that
that's
tomorrow.
great.
I'm
Mhm.
going to start that tomorrow. I love it. I love it because it gives you the opportunity to save, and there's still a kind of randomness. When you pick the number, then you put the money in the envelope and then you're motivated to continue going. I love it. And I'm going to encourage my friends to engage in that activity through the envelope challenge. So, Sue, well, we know about that in our local
Yes.
context. I had a vacation to Cancun once with the Susu. That was the aim of it, to get to that vacation. So there's so many ways that we can generate additional income just from our environment and even in the things that we do. So I want to move on to some questions here. What do you think is the biggest financial myth women believe? So we're zoning in on the women this evening. What do you think is the biggest financial myth?
That you can't do. You cannot achieve. You have too much on your plate. You cannot, you only could see about the house. That success is only for other people. And especially small money. Small money can't carry you nowhere. You can't dream it with small money. That is the myth. And
Yeah.
knowing that you cannot accomplish.
Yes.
No boundaries, I can't walk over. See, with faith and bruised knees,
That's
you will
right.
get there.
That's right. You're preaching, sister. You're preaching. And I taught a class recently. It was a project for women in, what they call the at-risk communities. So a lot of them have businesses, right? They want to start business. And they say, well, miss, I have a small business. I said, what is a small
Oh,
business?
the business.
What is a small business? Well, miss, it just, no, no, no. Start saying, I have a business. And your mind will absorb that and you will start to function accordingly in that realm of business. And a lot of them are moving forward quite well. How can women begin building wealth from where they are? I mean, you gave some already, but how can women begin to build wealth from where they are?
You first and foremost, you have to get that mind, that paralysis out of your mind. If you can't get that paralysis out, you will not go anywhere. You will just procrastinate. And procrastinate is not a disease, eh? Procrastinate is emotions. So you need to get into that subconscious because that's where we live. And that's where the fear resides. And that's where fear does not leave us. It's just that you could manage one at a time. And it starts right there. It doesn't start with, I'm going to borrow this money. It starts, and the money's in your pocket. You have it. The philosopher says everything that you need sits underneath your seat. Whatever you need is right there. You have that money in your pocket, and you cannot tell me I don't have. It starts small. Give yourself 6 weeks. I did this challenge with my sister and my twin sister, and she's in England. So she's joined. And in the envelope challenge I did for 100 days and I do for 50 days. But not everybody in the office could have $80 and then $90. And you get, oh my God, 99 on the third day. And then you go back to $15. Some of them understand their pockets. So what we did, we have a 50-day envelope from 1 to 50. That gave them $1,275. So what it did is that it have small numbers. So you don't have to first go out. And after seeing that, they realize, wait, I could do the 100. That's not impossible. So it starts small and it's in your pocket. These colleagues of mine used to buy KFC. Guys are now bringing sandwiches or food or something to eat. They're no longer buying. And they said, I did not know I had this in my pocket. Women, we always have money. We have money for food. And that's where the first myth is. When you get your paycheck, you go one time to the grocery, one time to the Price Mart, one time to the Pennywise, and the money done. Leave the paycheck alone and let the day pass. Because when you don't have anxiousness, you will not attack that pay. So instead of spending 1,200 or 2,000 or 2,500 in Price Mart, That month you buy at the grocery and you buy just enough what you need. So out of that $2,500, you now have $300. Spread that $300 in the same envelope, because what I have depositors. They bring the money and they drop it in, and I tally and I do a breakdown. But I could not get this done without community. I tried it. I'm not so disciplined. As I said, financial health deals with discipline. And what I did is that I needed someone else. It's just like some people can exercise excellence on their own. I can't. I need to go to a class. I am ill disciplined. So I need to follow. I need to go at 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm going 7. I am not. Some people are so great. Every day they can go. I am not there yet. So the same thing with the savings. I have the money. We're not going to pull the money from the air. But I can't sell anything. I don't have a next extra income. Yes, it's okay. The confidence does not come overnight. It's when you see that first savings. If you give yourself 6 weeks and you save $50 a day, and when you see it, you see at the end. As I said, my sister, and she was just doing a $50 challenge, because £1,000 to 1,000 TT is the same as 1,000. And when she didn't follow through, and she said, "You know how much money I have in my envelope? I have £600. I said, "You know what £600 do for you? As 600 TT dollars do for you? It carries you far. You could now dedicate, if I'm going to pay off a bill or pay down my debts. And then managing your debt is important. How much, which is the smallest debt you have first, you could dedicate to pay that off, and then the saving continues to grow." I hope I answered.
Yes. Excellent, excellent, excellent. And I really appreciate you sharing the real life experiences of how you yourself, and you slipped in there the aspect of self-awareness, because you know your strengths and your weaknesses. And if you know that you need support, as Ms. Griffith said before, having a community to support you, it's okay to ask for help. And so on that note, I want to say thank you so very much for your presentation. Ma'am, we appreciate you and we thank you so much. So we want to move right along to the next presenter. And our next presenter is Dr. Christine Simon Waterman, and she's going to speak about physical well-being. Dr. Christine Simon Waterman is a nationally registered nurse leader, clinician, author, and health equity advocate with experience spanning clinical practice, policy advocacy, and holistic care. She is dual certified as a family nurse practitioner and psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner, a diploma from the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, and a member of Sigma Theta Tau International, Honor Society for Nursing, a Jonas Scholar, a Fellow of the Nursing Leadership Institute. Dr. Simon Waterman is deeply committed to advancing equitable and high-quality healthcare. Dr. Simon Waterman practices at the world-renowned Johns Hopkins Hospital in Baltimore, where she serves on multiple advanced practice and leadership councils, contributing to initiatives and strengthening professional governance. An accomplished author, her scholarly work appears in the Journal of Nurse Practitioners, the Maryland Nurse News and Journal, and the University of Maryland School of Nursing Library. She currently serves as a trustee of the Nursing Foundation of Maryland, and she's a member of the Maryland Nurses Association Legislative Committee. She previously served as the president of the Maryland Nurses Association from 2021 to 2023. Well accomplished doctor. This evening, she's going to share with us on hormonal health and stress, movement as medicine, sustainable nutrition, and rest as a strategy. I love it. Just love it. Welcome, Dr. Christine Simon Waterman. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much for that
Hearty welcome. And I would like to say thank you to my fellow presenters. Their presentations were just on point and excellent. There are hard acts to follow, but so good evening, everyone. And I am delighted to be here this evening as a presenter and as a RAP PP member. I would like to say a hearty thank you this evening to RAP PP's leadership and executive board for this invitation to present. I have no financial disclosures or conflicts of interest to report or disclose. Next slide, please. And my presentation today is on the Power Pause Physical Wellbeing, guiding women towards restoration, strength, and sustainable health. So as a certified lifestyle medicine practitioner, I must first explain the 6 key pillars, which are evidence-based lifestyle behaviors that prevent, treat, and reserve chronic diseases. Lifestyle medicine is built could you go back one slide for me, please? Okay, beautiful. Lifestyle medicine is built on 6 evidence-based pillars that support long-term health and disease prevention. These pillars work together as a system rather than in isolation. So we have nutrition, which fuels the body. We have movement, which strengthens the body. Sleep, which restores it. Stress management protects our hormones and mental health. And then we have the social connection, which supports our emotional well-being. And avoiding risky substances, those reduces or preventable diseases. When these pillars are aligned, they create a powerful foundation for health and well-being. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Thank you. So why does this conversation matter? Before we go forward, it's important for us to reflect on why the conversation matters. Because many women today carry multiple roles every day, like was previously stated by the 2 presenters before. We are caregivers, we are professionals, we are leaders, we are supporters for all our families and community. And we spend a great deal of time making sure others are cared for, supported, and doing well. However, in the process of us caring for everyone else, our own well-being can sometimes be placed in a back burner, as we've heard before. Mental health, financial stability, and physical health may not always receive the attention they deserve. And this is why this session is important. This evening is an opportunity for us to take an intentional pause, to step back from the demands of daily life, reflect on where we are, and begin thinking about how we can better support our own well-being. This moment right here and right now, it's about reflection, it's about awareness and empowerment so that we can continue to show up for ourselves, also caring for ourselves and be able to care for others more effectively. Next slide, please. So what is physical well-being? Physical well-being is more than just simply feeling good and not being sick. It's about how well our bodies function and whether we have the energy to live our daily lives fully. It includes getting quality of sleep and maintaining a balanced hormone, which help regulate mood, focus, and overall health. It also involves nourishing our bodies with healthy food and staying physically active, both of which plays an important role in preventing chronic diseases. When these areas are in balance, our bodies are better able to support our overall health and well-being. Another key part of our physical well-being is managing our stress. When we're able to manage our stress and allowing our time for rest and recovery, that's an important part of our physical well-being also. Next slide, please. So, our hormonal health and stress. Chronic stress has a significant impact on a woman's hormonal health. When we experience ongoing stress, what happens to the body? The body releases a higher level of cortisol, which can disrupt, and this is a hormone which can disrupt other important hormones in our bodies, such as insulin and those that regulate sleep and metabolism. What happens over time? The imbalances that is caused because of this cortisol imbalance can lead to fatigue, it can lead to mood changes, it can lead to weight gain and difficulty sleeping. And the key message here that I want us to get is that stress management is not just about emotional well being, it is essential for physical health. When we learn to manage stress through rest, through movement, through mindfulness and supportive routines, we help to restore our balance in the body and we protect our long-term health, which is very important. Next slide, please. So movement is medicine. You know, many of us think that medicines, it's something that comes in a bottle, a pill like Tylenol or your high blood pressure medicine. But one of the most powerful form of medicines we have is movement. Regular physical activity improves both our mental and heart health or cardiovascular health, helping to reduce stress hormones, so the cortisol that we talk about, the over insulin production, while supporting our metabolic and energy levels. The good news here is that it doesn't require hours of gym. You know, sometimes we think we have to go to the gym and we have to work out and we have to do so many things and then we get discouraged. No. Research shows that about 150 minutes of moderate movement each week. And we're talking about what, and you say, what's moderate movement? It's walking, dancing. We all know that we love to dance, or light strength training can significantly improve overall health. The key to this is consistency. So we don't have to go and walk 10 miles or run for, 5 miles a day. No, we have to be consistent. Small, regular movements all the week can have a powerful impact on how we feel physically and mentally. Next slide, please. So many women feel that they simply don't have time to exercise, especially like was said before by the presenters, when they're balancing work, family, and other responsibilities. Again, good news for you today is that movement does not have to be long or complicated to be effective. Small, intentional actions throughout the day can make a big difference. For example, you take 10 minutes of walk a day in the morning, 10 minutes in the afternoon, 15 minutes in the evening, on stretch between meetings, or choosing the stairs instead of an elevator. Choosing to park your car a little distance off and say, I'm going to take a walk, park my car a little distance off and take a walk. And also adding strength training just 2 times a week can also improve your muscle strength, metabolism, and overall health. The key here, again, I'm going to emphasize, it's not perfection. It's consistency and making movement part of your daily routine. Next slide, please. So let's talk a little about sustainable nutrition. Sustainable nutrition is not about strict diets or quick fixes. It's about creating eating habits that support your health over time. One of the most effective approaches is focusing on whole, nutrient-dense food, such as fruits, vegetables, whole grain, and fiber-rich food. These foods help us to support our digestion. They stabilizes our blood sugar and provide the nutrients our body needs to function well. Healthy fats, such as avocados and lean proteins, are also important because they help support our hormonal balance. So again, we're back to that cortisol balance and hormonal balance. Every level and overall energy level and overall metabolism. When we think about nutrition and nourishment, rather than restrictions, it becomes much easier to build habits that are realistic and sustainable for everyday life, which helps sustain our physical activity. Next slide, please. So many of us face real challenges when it comes to maintaining our health or healthy nutrition, especially with the demands on our busy lives or schedule, multiple responsibilities. Often, and we spoke about it before in the presentations previously, we skip meals because we simply don't have enough time, which can lead to low energy and overeating later in the day because we're like, I'm just going to grab whatever I have at hand to eat. So convenient foods also become an easy option. But many processed foods are high in sugar, salt, and unhealthy fat. In addition, our stress levels because of a busy day and our overwhelmed work schedule can sometimes lead us to emotional eating. So we want to be very mindful of those things because food can become a coping mechanism for us and not with us making healthy choices. So the again for us, it's not perfection. We don't want to be perfect and I have to have a perfect balanced meal. We want to recognize these patterns that we have when we're eating, and we spoke about them previously, and gradually make small, healthier choices that support our long-term well-being. Next slide, please. So rest is also an important part of the overall activity and achieving that healthy goal. Rest is often overlooked, but it's one of the most powerful strategies for maintaining good health. Quality sleep plays a very critical role in regulating our hormones, strengthening our immune systems, and supporting overall health and mental well-being. When we don't get enough sleep, it can affect our metabolism, mood, focus, and even our ability to manage stress. Most adults need, all adults need at least about 6 to 9 hours of sleep each night. That's what we should be getting, but I know we don't to properly recover and restore ourselves. So prioritizing our rest should not be a luxury. It's a vital part of maintaining energy, balance, and long-term health. I'm checking my time. Sorry. So many times could you, next slide, please. So many times when we hear the term self-care, we think of it as sometimes optional or even indulgent. But in reality, self-care, again, it's not a luxury. It is maintenance for ourselves to keep ourselves healthy. Just like we maintain our home or cars or work responsibility, we must also maintain our physical and mental well-being. When women prioritize their health, remember this, they are better able to support their families, contribute better to their communities, and show up fully in their roles. Taking care of ourselves, it's not just selfish, it is necessary for us to do. When we care for ourselves consistently, we build the strength and energy needed to serve others in a healthy and sustainable way. Next slide, please. I have 1 more minute. Next slide, please. Okay. So what I wanted us to do, I have 1 more minute before we close. I want us to invite ourselves to take a brief moment and reflect on our bodies are consistently giving us signals. What are those signals? What do we need from ourselves? Do we need rest? Do we need to eat healthier? Focus on those things, identify what our needs are, and make one small change as we start this week. One. Next slide, please. As we close, I want us to leave with this reminder. Your health is essential. Too often, women place themselves at the bottom of the priority list while caring for everyone else. But when women prioritize their well-being, the impact goes far beyond themselves. Healthier women strengthen families, support communities, and create environments where others can sorry, where others can thrive, together we meant to be a pause. Today, we need to take a pause, a moment to reflect and realign. And I encourage you to take at least one small step towards caring for your physical well-being. Step can be the beginning of a healthier and more balanced life. And am I at my time?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, I will stop right there. Um, and thank you for your time.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Waterman. And at this time, I want to just, put some questions on the floor, waiting for any from the audience. I want to ask, why do you think women neglect their bodies while caring for everyone else?
Again, I think that both presenters previously touched on this. We are nurturers and we are taught um, to care for others. And we are taught that that's our way of showing affection. So, we need to reprogram that thought process that again, self-care is not selfish. And if we take care of ourselves, we have to understand the purpose that if we're taking care of ourselves, we're able to show up fully and ready to even give more. So I think it's the way that we have been wired for generations. And now it's about rewiring and rethinking and having these conversations in these settings. It's just the beginning of letting us know what we need to do to show up as our full self.
Yes, I believe very much so, Dr. Waterman. We are wired, and I like that. Culturally, we are made to feel if we take care of ourselves, as you say, self-care, it's being selfish. Yeah, and so we raise our girls like that, always see about the house first, always make sure the chores are done, always, and we put out so much while neglecting our own selves in that entire process. What are what is one small physical change that can create a big impact? If you could just, one small
Yeah,
change.
one small change, like I indicated, park your car uh 2 blocks down. Instead of looking and fussing for the parking spot that's closer to that elevator, park your car 2 parking spots down the first day. The second day, move it to 3 parking spots down. And that's just one simple thing that you're doing. That's creating a change because when the week is over, you have much more steps in that's going to reach that goal and requirement um, of 150 minutes per week.
Right, nice. In other words, don't sweat the small stuff. Turn it
Yeah,
around. Life gives you limes,
turn
you
it
make
around.
lime juice, that kind of thing. Thank you
Absolutely.
so very much. I like that idea about the parking the car further so you get your steps in. How can women create a personal well-being framework? What will that look like, especially for, as we mentioned before, the busy professional woman?
You know, make that play framework as simple as possible.
Mhm.
Don't go big. A lot of times we set these goals, these grandeur goals of I am going to work out 5 days a week for 2 hours, going to pack my car. I am going to have, avocado for lunch instead of using oil, right? Or I'm going to do some cucumbers. Small, start small, make small changes daily with your physical activity, your diet. Take a 5-minute break and pause and exhale. After every meeting, get up and stretch. These small things make a big difference because if we do it after every meeting, think about how often we're stretching for the day. Think about parking your car every day, how much more exercise you're getting per week. Think about changing 1 bottle of soda per day to
Mhm.
water, right? And those are simple changes that we think wouldn't make a difference, but eventually they start adding. So
Excellent,
make
excellent.
those expectations small and then expand them.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And some things that you mentioned that stand out, you spoke about quality of sleep, your nutrition and your stress management. They all determine how our bodies function. And really, as women, we tend to say, we feeling bloated or we have headaches or we feel tired, but not realizing that it's a combination of things most times that we need to start looking at in order to, allow our bodies to function. One of the most powerful medicine is movement. Ma'am, you spoke my language there. One of the most powerful medicine is movement. And I have a friend, she's a nutrition therapist, and she says her slogan is, "Have you moved today?" It's always, "Have you moved today?" And so my mind just went on to that. Have you moved today? And she says it doesn't have to be complicated movements. Simple movements, as you said, park your car a little further down, you know, allow yourself to walk a little more. Don't sweat the small stuff. You know,
Allow
you you feel for
allow
soda,
yourself to
drink
Mhm,
water.
mhm.
You know,
Allow yourself to put on some music and dance. It reduces your stress hormone and it helps you to move.
yeah. Small intentional actions. Small intentional actions. One intentional action I'm going to try to fulfill, and you probably could check in on me, is to try to get at least 6 hours sleep. I'm very guilty of getting much less most times. So I'm going to start, and I'm going to set a goal of trying to do it at least starting at once a week, then twice a week, then because I know myself, so I don't want to feel frustrated. So I'm going to commit to that. I'm going to commit to that. Thank you so very much, Dr. Waterman, for allowing us the privilege of your vast knowledge and how we can, as women, look after our well-being. And so now we want to open the floor for some questions if we have questions from the floor. But I want to keep the conversation going while those questions come in. And I want to ask the panelists, anyone can answer this. How do mental, financial, and physical health intersect? If you see the intersection, how can we as women see that intersection, mental, financial, and physical health?
Well,
Any one of
I
the
guess
panelists can feel free to answer.
I could answer that.
Yeah.
They all are interconnected. They're not isolated from each other because when one is affected, it affects the other. So I mean, financial stress can increase anxiety, which may impact your sleep and energy and physical health. But if we work on one and we strengthen one, then we're able to strengthen others. But if one is being affected, because of everything in our body, everything that we do is interconnected. So if we have financial stress, then our level stress hormones goes up, and then our physical well-being is affected. And then of course our mental, because we are constantly stressed and we're constantly thinking about it, so they're all interconnected, and that's why we need to be able to have a balance of all of them to be able to have that overall holistic health.
Thank you very much. And a question to you. How important is rest? This is from the audience. How important is rest?
Like I said in that presentation, rest is very important. It is one of the pillars of health that really prevents chronic illness. And I think, again, I think society taught us, and I know the first presenter spoke about it and the second one, that, more work and being busy shows that we're achieving and we're doing so much. But we are learning, and this is why we have these presentations and these seminars. What do we need to really be completely in holistic health? And part of that is getting enough sleep, getting enough rest. And I've been guilty of it for years. Yes. But now I am very intentional because you know what they say, when you know better, you should be doing better. So, and you have to practice what you preach. So I'm very intentional with my rest now. taking those minute rest times during the day. You know, that 10-minute power nap, it
Yes.
really works. So rest and sleep is very important. I would say it is as much weighs as much importance as your diet and nutrition and your
Ah,
exercise. So
I
yeah.
like that. It is as important as your diet and nutrition. So don't think you can eat well, and have all the nutrients in there and not rest. You're kind of canceling out good health when you do that. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. This question is for Miss Caesar, Miss Cumming Caesar. This question is for you. How do we get over the negativity about money? How do we get over the negativity about money? Miss Caesar, are you there? She seems to have fallen off. Ah,
Here I am. Ah,
yes.
how do you get over? Can you repeat again the question? I'm
The
busy packing for my
negativity,
trip.
negativity
With
of
money,
money. Yes.
it starts small, right? You have to identify what your relationship with money is. If you're a gambler or you spend money unwisely. I have a colleague. He says, "Hold my envelope. I don't know when I have money, I spend it widely. Place it somewhere where you could get a little interest on it." It starts with identifying what your weakness is. Start identifying small, achievable, smart goals. Because if you don't do that, what you end up having is that you have targets that you can't meet, and you feel the overwhelming strangulation that what you have learned over the years, but it's so easy to fall back off on the bandwagon. I remembered when I started and I decided I'm going to do this, I'm doing it by myself, I'm so noble, and it went well for the first few days. After day 5, I forgot. I went in my old habit. I'll do it later. I would not do it. I'm going to use the money for something else. So when you're not accountable, when
Yeah.
you don't hold yourself in that position where you could be accountable for yourself, and that is also to where self-love, self-sharing, and spending a little more on you. While, because you're living, and in everyday living, it is hard. It is hard meeting. Cost of everything has gone up. And it goes up continuously. This war is not going to make it easier for food and the price of food and the import. We're going to start to feel the pinch. And you're going to start to panic and have anxiety. I can't save around this time. Yes, you can. Instead of us buying 5 chicken or 3 for 100, we have to buy 1 for 1 and cut it smaller. We have to, regardless what station in life we all know cow heel soup, pigtail, oxtail. We know, and those have now become expensive. We know how to eat a soup. We know how to eat rice and peas, because rice and peas is what we know as Caribbean people. Rice, peas, and balance it with a little vegetable. Bhaji, pak choy, bodhi. Grow a little something. Add to your position. Do not let the circumstances overwhelms you in your progress. How many of us had little garden during COVID? And after COVID, where did that garden go?
Hmm.
So it is a discipline, but it's a small, steady steps. Like an addict, you're going to fall off. But if you hold your strain, and after the first time, second time, and you get a hand to hold, because if you know you're weak, get your community. Community living really helps. So we have many savers in my little area there, including women, and want somebody here. And I convince you that you need to take your little pocket money out of your money pocket, your pocket money, and put in a little somewhere else, or get in a little venture. So what I've started seeing people doing is that they no longer somebody buy colognes in the office and they're selling it. So it starts small, but it will grow. And if you believe in it, your belief Once you do your tithing and do this and you do that and you know your values and whatever, and you could hold strong. That's where it is. It's no easy recipe. There's no recipe on the given. But young people have all those reels, the TikTok, the YouTube, and that's where I got my incentives too. Once you start about budgeting, they have, and you tell and your algorithm, yeah, you talk, because you know right now all of our phones are going to send us budgeting. And Dave Ramsey and his partners, and when they start to tell you how to break down, I've also become an advisor for my colleagues and my business partner because I can't do it by myself. And we talk about paying off the debt. Look for the smallest debt. We don't pay off the biggest one. Or we want to pay off all, we get a lump sum money. And you want to pay off all. How are we going to live? Where's your fallback? Where's your emergency? Debt is something you need to embrace, but it has a timeline and you have ways to get it. So I hope I answered your question. I hope I
Thank you
did.
very much, quite comprehensively. And I like community really helps. And that line kind of wraps everything up. No pun intended. It takes everything to a center in terms of what Miss Griffith spoke about, in terms of what Miss Caesar spoke about, and of course, Dr. Waterman. Community really helps. If we are to understand and manage stress and be able to cope with our life, we need community. If we have to manage our finances, as we just heard, community. And in terms of our health, having an accountability partner and having a community who can keep us accountable is also very important. So I want to thank our panelists tonight for sparing the time, for giving us their time, and of course their expertise to be able to function and be able to get the information and to make it practical, because it's important not only to hear it, as you would not just be hearers but doers. So we hope after tonight you go out there and you take away one thing from each presenter. If you take one thing, then this webinar would have been a success for you. So at this point, I want to hand over to Mrs. Wessie Ann Howard for our closing and vote of thanks.
Good night, everyone. I would like to say a special good night to the Executive Board of RAPTT, Planning Committee team members, our esteemed moderator and presenters, and our attendees. Thank you to Ms. Samantha Griffith, who represented the Trinidad and Tobago Association of Social Workers and presented on mental health. One thing that we can all take away from Ms. Griffith's presentation was your worth is not measured by how exhausted you are. Thank you to Mrs. Cummings Caesar, who spoke on financial health. A key takeaway there from Mrs. Cummings Caesar's presentation, good financial health starts with confidence, choices, and freedom. She reinforced the importance of community from a financial perspective. Thank you to our very own Dr. Waterman, who presented on physical well-being. A key takeaway is the importance of rest and movement as a form of medicine. Dr. Waterman would have reminded us 150 minutes moderate activity weekly and strength training for busy women to include at least twice a week. What I take away personally is the importance of consistency and not perfectionism. Thank you, Dr. Waterman. Thank you to our very own RAPTT member. Our very own RAPTT, Mrs. Hamlin Paul. Thank you so much for coming with us, volunteering with us, and moderating so effortlessly and smoothly tonight's webinar. We could not have done it without you, and it would not have been as a success as it is if we did not have you here with us tonight. Thank you to our attendees, some of whom are in transit. We hope that you reach home safely, drive safely on the road, and to all those who are signed in, whether on Zoom or on our live stream on YouTube, thank you so very much. I would like to conclude by encouraging everyone And to advance what our moderator would have said, Mrs. Hamlin Paul, two, take something, anything away that you can use to improve the quality of your life as you give and you serve in your community and in your role. We thank you so very much. And I'm passing it back on to our moderator.
Thank you. You said it so well, Ms. Howard, so well. At this time, I want to extend my thanks to everyone, especially to the chair of RAPTT. I want to say thank you very much, Ms. Phillips Bernard, for inviting me to moderate, and to the executive team, job well done. To the attendees, thank you for taking the time, and have a wonderful night. Take care, everyone.